family who are back home staying up despite the different time zones. Thank you so much. This means a lot to me. I am truly honored to be a 2024 recipient of the Hawkinson Fund for Peace and Justice. My deepest gratitude goes to the Hawkinson Fund contributors, including the generous support from Grace Church's annual benevolence gifts. My name is Frances Ogamba, a fiction writer and essayist. I am currently completing my MFA in creative writing at the University of Minnesota, Twin Cities. I tell stories because storytelling is like placing our hands on different body parts of the world and asking where it hurts. We can attest to the fact that the world is such a difficult place to live in right now because it hurts everywhere. From Nigeria to Ukraine, from Somalia to Palestine, from Lebanon to North Carolina to Florida. It hurts in the justice system, in healthcare, in gender inequality, in inequitable access to housing. Through stories, we document our efforts on the battlefront against imperialism, violence against individuals living with disability, police brutality, and human trafficking. Our stories of today become archives for the future generation, a map to navigate and correct their own present. I co-founded Idembeka Creative Writing Workshop, not only to empower African writers who have no access to fully funded writing programs, but to invite more voices to tell Africa's stories, which I alone cannot tell. Many studies and books on Africa always seem to have completed before the researchers meet Africa for the first time. As a result, Africa's story is often told by those who write it without an iota of understanding. I am committed to changing that narrative by encouraging more voices because stories will never be enough. In my earliest engagements with advocacy, I invested in the preservation of human life and the environment. To preserve life, I worked with a mental health awareness initiative and reached out to people contemplating suicide through phone calls. To preserve the environment, I wrote letters to the government calling their attention to the harmful activities of illegal oil refineries in Port Harcourt, Nigeria. These phone calls and letters were all stories of courage and hope, stories revealing the pain and crumbling health of a people inbreathing polluted air. Our gathering today is a celebration of storytelling, because it is through stories that we can share the work we have done and inspire a kinder world. It is through language and stories that we protest and advocate for justice and peace in a world cracking in many places. I am inspired by the work and advocacy of the past and present recipients of the Hawkinson Fund. This year we have Potayoke King, who advocates for the rights of ethnic minorities in Thai Burmese communities. Mausi Lee, who guides young Hmong women to reclaim their personhood. Hami Wing, who helps underprivileged groups unlock their power by better understanding their rights. And Natalie Gesa, who engages with homeless individuals who struggle with substance use disorders. These individuals, I am now lucky to call peers, are patching the world's cracks, giving back power to those who cannot negotiate due to lack of language. During my interview with the Hawkinson Fund team, I asked them what they have learned about humanity, especially in a world that insists on difference and boundaries and partitions. They replied, "The problems of the world are just the same. We are rocked by the same anxieties and insecurities, the same sickness and pain and loss, the same laughter and joy and hope, the same tears. When our bodies bruise, we all bleed. We are the same water boiling in a pot, leaves on different branches of the same tree. If you look in the core of our humanness, you'll find us all the same. The Igbo word for love is ifunanya. The literal translation is to see with the eye. However, seeing here transcends sight. If Naya is to behold another human using all 5 senses, especially the sense of hearing, of the 5 senses, hearing is the most pervasive. Sight is always the perception from a particular angle, but sound is the perception able to penetrate beneath the surface. To see others with the eye is to see them with greater clarity, to hear them, to understand them, which is ultimately to love them. As occupants of a world conceived of a whole, in which all things are linked together, I hope that we all continue seeing others with the eye, that we see both the surface and everything else existing underneath. Thank you.